July 3, 2015. Bardstown, Kentucky. A small, quiet bourbon town. Population, 13,000. A mother of 5 kisses her kids goodnight. She never wakes up. She never sees her children again. And for 8 years, no one was charged with her murder. Her name was Crystal Rogers. She was 35 years old. She loved her kids more than anything. And the man she trusted most may have been the one who ended her life. This is the case that shook an entire town. And this is why it took 8 years to get justice. Crystal Maria Rogers grew up in Nelson County, Kentucky. By 2015, she was a 35-year-old mother of 5 children. People who knew her described her as warm, hardworking, and deeply devoted to her kids. She worked. She provided. She showed up. She was not someone who would simply walk away from her family. At the time of her disappearance, Crystal was living with her boyfriend, Brooks Houck. Brooks was a local man with a construction business. They had a 2-year-old son together. On the surface, it looked like a normal family. But behind closed doors, sources say Brooks had a very specific problem. He didn't want to pay child support. He didn't want to share custody. And he made that known to multiple people. On the night of July 3, 2015, the eve of Independence Day, Crystal Rogers was home. She was playing games on her phone. That would be the last time anyone in that house would see her alive. On July 5, 2015, 2 days after Crystal was last seen, her mother reported her missing. Crystal had not called, had not texted, had not shown up. For a mother of 5, that was not normal. That was terrifying. Police found Crystal's car the same day it was reported. A maroon Chevrolet Impala, sitting on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway. Flat tire. Engine off. Door unlocked. Her phone was inside. Still powered off. Crystal was nowhere to be found. Here's where it gets strange. Crystal's phone records told a specific story. At 9:28 p.m. on July 3rd, her phone died. She had been playing mobile games. At 11:57 p.m., the phone powered back on. At 12:01 a.m., it was manually turned off. Someone turned off her phone in the middle of the night. The question is, was it Crystal or someone else? Around midnight, investigators found something else in the phone records. A series of calls between 2 men named Joseph Lawson and his father, Steve Lawson. After those calls, Steve Lawson called Brooks Houck. The call lasted 13 seconds. Investigators later confirmed Steve Lawson's phone was near the Bluegrass Parkway shortly after. The same highway where Crystal's car was found. Prosecutors would later argue the plan was to make Crystal disappear. Drive her car to the highway. Make it look like she left on her own. The car was never supposed to be found again. But a flat tire changed everything. From the start, one name kept coming up. Brooks Houck, Crystal's boyfriend, was the last known person to see her. He told police, when he woke up, she was gone. He assumed she needed space. But detectives weren't convinced. In his 8-page written statement to police, Houck listed people he met that day for work. Several of those people later testified they never met with him. In October 2015, just 3 months after Crystal vanished, Brooks Houck was officially named a suspect. And yet, he was not arrested. Not charged. Not held. He walked free for 8 more years. A private investigator later found evidence of a white Buick parked at the Houck family farm the night Crystal disappeared. That car belonged to Brooks Houck's grandmother. She sold it just weeks after the disappearance. The Nelson County Sheriff's Office struggled to close the case. The investigation passed to the Kentucky State Police. And in August 2020, 5 years later, the FBI took over. Agents searched the Houck farm twice. In 2020. Again in 2021. In August 2021, they recovered what they called, quote, an item of interest from concrete at a house built by Brooks Houck's construction company. They did not say what it was. They said they knew people in Bardstown had information, and it was time for those people to come forward. But there was another twist in this case, one that made it far darker than anyone expected. 16 months after Crystal Rogers vanished, her father, Tommy Ballard, took his 12-year-old grandson hunting. It was November 19, 2016. A quiet morning on private property. Suddenly, a single gunshot. Tommy Ballard was shot once in the chest. He was 54 years old. Police ruled out suicide immediately. Tommy's gun had never been fired. His grandson, Crystal's eldest son, was cleared of any involvement. Tommy Ballard had been doing something very specific in the months before his death. He had been leading a private effort to investigate his daughter's disappearance. He was asking questions. He was getting close to something, and someone wanted him to stop. Prosecutors would later connect Brooks Houck's brother, Nick Houck, a former Bardstown police officer, to Tommy Ballard's death. They said Nick sold a gun to an undercover officer with the same or similar caliber as the weapon used to kill Ballard. Nick Houck has denied involvement and was never charged. Tommy Ballard's murder remains officially unsolved. In September 2023, 8 years after Crystal vanished, Brooks Houck was finally arrested. FBI agents took him into custody without incident. He was indicted on charges of murder and tampering with physical evidence. 2 men named Joseph Lawson and Steve Lawson were also indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. The trials took place in 2025. In May 2025, Steve Lawson was found guilty, sentenced to 17 years in prison. In July 2025, the main event, Brooks Houck was found guilty of Crystal Rogers' murder. On September 17, 2025, he was sentenced to life in prison. Joseph Lawson received 25 years. But here is the heartbreak that Crystal's family still carries. Her body has never been found. Not a single trace. The men who killed her took that secret with them. And Crystal's children will never have a grave to visit. Crystal Rogers was not a headline. She was a mother, a daughter, a woman who deserved to grow old with her children. It took the FBI, a special prosecutor, nearly a decade of pressure. And even now, with 3 men convicted, the full truth may never come out. Nick Houck was never charged. Tommy Ballard's killer was never identified. And Crystal's family is still waiting. Not for justice, they got some of that. They're waiting to bring her home. If this case moved you, if you think Crystal's story deserves to be heard, share this video. Leave a comment with her name. Every view tells the algorithm that stories like this matter. I'm going to keep covering cases like Crystal's. Cases where real people fell through the cracks of a broken system. Subscribe to Vanished Case Files. And I'll see you in the next one.